So we're now doing example 39, question F, right? And this one is all about inequalities. So what you need to remember with an inequality is that instead of having x equal to 5, which is just one solution, when the inequality says that x is larger than 5, you now have a list of values that go from 5 up to infinity. Okay? And so the inequality gives you a range of solutions as opposed to a single solution, and that is what we will be focusing on in this section. Okay, so there are 6 possibilities when we work with inequalities and functions, and the questions that you're asking, or what you're looking for, is where is your graph above the x-axis? That's the first possibility. Where is your graph below the x-axis? Where is your graph cutting the x-axis? Okay, so those first 3 questions have to do with the x-axis only, right? And then the next 3 questions are where is your graph above another graph, where is your graph below another graph, and where is your graph cutting another graph, which we know as a point of intersection. And so these are the 6 questions that are very common, right? And you just need to know how to identify them. So to make it easy for us, we're either going to have symbols that look like this or like that, right? If they add the portion where we have the option of being equal to, then you will just adjust it according to that. Okay, and so a nice way to remember this is when we're looking at below, okay, we can think of it as below. So when you see this symbol over here, that means below, okay? And when you have above, right, then we can remember it as this one, this back to front E, okay? And so when they talk about where is f of x less than something, then we know that this is asking for below, right? Where is f of x below the x-axis, or where is f of x below another function? Okay, so I need you to remember this memory tool to help you figure out what you are looking for. Okay, so let's suppose we have this parabola. Okay, this parabola is turning at -4 and it has intercepts -2 and 2. Okay, now you need to, of course, now to find intercepts, and you do so by making either x equal to 0 or y equal to 0. So let's say that we have this function f of x, right? And they ask you, for instance, where is f of x with this symbol and 0. Okay, so now remember I told you the only 2 situations is below the x-axis, or rather the 2 situations are either your function versus the x-axis or your function versus another function. And so because there is no function here, we are talking about our function versus the x-axis. Okay, so where is your function below? That's supposed to be a b. Where is your function below the x-axis? And that is what the question is. Okay, so where is f of x below the x-axis? Let's just make that an f again. Where is f of x below the x-axis? Okay, and if you look at your picture, f of x is underneath the x-axis in this entire section here, right? And so that would be from here to here, right? And you must remember that your answers for these questions will always be x values. So your answers will, or the questions will always say, where is f of x less than 0? And the question would read on top, for which values of x, right? So you know your answers must be in terms of x. So for which values of x is our graph under the x-axis? Well, our graph is under the x-axis between -2 and 2. And so when x is between -2 and 2, our graph will be below the x-axis, as can be seen in this picture. Now let's say they add an extra element and say, where's f of x less than or equal to 0? So where's your graph under or equal to the x-axis? All that does is it just changes or adds this extra element into your answer, right? So your graph is touching the x-axis at -2, and then it goes under the x-axis, and then it's equal to the x-axis again, right? And so this is one of the ways that these questions can be asked. Okay, another question could be, for which values of x is f of x greater than 0? So again, there's no other function here, so this is referring to the x-axis, right? So where's your graph above the x-axis? Where's your graph above the x-axis? And that happens all the way on here towards the left, and that happens over here going towards the right. Okay, and so your two solutions would be this section here from -2 to the left, and this section here from 2 onwards. Okay, because at this point your graph is above the x-axis, and so your two solutions here would be, number one, when x is less than or equal to -2, okay, or when x is greater than or equal to 2. And you'll notice that these answers are separated because it happens on two separate parts of the Cartesian plane. It happens in this section here going towards the left, and then it happens on this section here going to the right. And so your solutions have to be written separately as well.